Now, over to Lucia. Lucia, lovely to see you. I must say I'm a big fan of Lucia. She has worked very closely with our law division on a lovely, fantastic collaboration project with law and technology. So, Lucia, can you talk to us about what you've been doing with QuizSlides? It sounds very exciting, but I'll leave it to you. Again, I'll just give you 10 minutes and then I'll come back in and take any questions from the chat. So thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. What I'm about to present complements what Andreas talked about and could provide an alternative to model quizzes, which, as he mentioned, are quite clunky. So I'm going to talk about QuizSlides, which you can use for creating multiple choice test, online tests, and self-learning packages. So for both formative and summative assessment. I'll just recap the challenges that we normally face. I'll demonstrate QuizSlides, compare it to model, and then I'll let you know how we can get started with QuizSlides if it's something that you will consider using for next semester. So the challenges in general, we know that it's time consuming to create and to mark assessments. Now we have the added challenge where we also need to make sure that we can assess students remotely. When it comes to multiple choice tests, there is the issue with guesswork because students can randomly guess answers if they have no idea at all. And when it comes to creating multiple choice test questions, the tools are often clunky, as Andrew mentioned. So as a response to those issues, 9 years ago, my colleague and myself got together and we tried to create a tool that would enable us to create quizzes much more easier and create quizzes that would yield more reliable results. So QuizSlides, as I mentioned, can be used for summative and formative assessment. So let me cover first the summative assessment because it is something we all need to address for the next semester. We are great advocates of subset selection. What it is exactly, I will show you when I demonstrate a quiz. But we've done research that shows that it provides more reliable test scores. Students actually prefer them to traditional multiple choice tests. And QuizSlides also offers the traditional question bank and question shuffle, which aids to make the test more reliable. And it also integrates with model gradebook. So there is no manual marking and no transmission of marks manually. This is all done seamlessly. So let me show you an example of a summative assessment. This is my site for level 4. And I can embed the quiz within VLE. So it's just a link. When students need to log into VLE, when they click on the link, they're taken to the QuizSlides site, but the details are pre-filled and they cannot change them. After I begin the quiz, I'm presented with a quiz here. So subset selection means if I'm not sure of the answer, I can select more than one option. I can even select them all, or I can clear and just select the one that I'm sure of. So let's say I can eliminate is not A or B, but I'm not sure between C and D, so I can select them both. Let's say for this one, I'm pretty sure it's Sydney, so I select just A, so I can also treat it as a traditional test. For this one, let's say I have absolutely no idea. I'm not going to guess. I'm just going to skip, and this will give me quarter of a mark because we're saying to students, if you have no idea, don't guess. That will make the scores more reliable, but students will get the quarter of a mark, which they would guess, which they would get by guessing. They will get it awarded automatically. After I submit, this test was set only to show the score and not the correct answers, because when you do tests remotely, you don't want students to communicate and share the correct answers after they finished. So this is the subset selection test you can use for online quizzes. You can find further information about this test type on this link. There are also links to the research paper that we wrote with Martin. Formative assessment. So because students do these quizzes, multiple choice test quizzes for the summative assessment, it's great to give them some practice during the semester. And for this, we use answer until correct. I'm sure most of you are familiar with these because they're also available in Moodle. They provide immediate feedback, which means it aids students' learning. You can also have slides between the questions, which means you can either explain a topic before you present the question, or you can provide more guidance on a question afterwards. So you can create learning packages as well. And because the quizzes are self-marked, students can do them in their own time and learn. So let me show you an example of a formative assessment quiz. So this links directly to QuizSlides, but you can also have the link again within VLE. As you can see, I don't have to fill in my details because this is just for my own learning. So this is a quiz about chocolate. So here I have a slide with some information, and then I have a set of questions presented on that topic. So let's say, how many seeds are there in a cocoa pot? Let's say 25 to 40, and that's correct. So I'm getting 1 mark. Let's say this one, I select D, and it's not correct. I can have another go until I get it correct, as I'm learning as I'm going along. This test type is called Scratches, and it was developed in collaboration with the Cornell University. After I submit this one, I haven't answered all the questions, but I'm going to submit anyway just to show you what the result look like. I get a score, but I also get a breakdown of every question, what was the correct answer and what I selected. And I can retake this test as many times as I like, because this is just for my own learning for formative assessment. So that was summative and formative assessment. We've seen how it looks from the student's perspective. So let's have a look how it works from the lecturer's point of view. So how do I create these quizzes? I can create them very easily using PowerPoint or any other tool that you like, as long as every question is presented as one slide with options labeled A, B, C, D somewhere within the slide. As you can see, this can be 4 images, it can be 4 options, or it can be labels. It's completely up to you. Once you create them, the good thing about creating them in PowerPoint is very easy to create them collaboratively with your colleagues. Also easy to moderate. You can also ask students to create questions on a topic. Then you save them as images. So export them as images from PowerPoint. Then you log into QuizSlides. So now we're assuming you already have an account, you're logged in, you create on Create Quiz, and then you just need to select what is the title, what feedback do you want to give students when they complete. So is it score only, you don't want to present anything, or you want to also show them correct answers. So you have 3 options there. You also select whether you want students to identify themselves or not. So that depends whether it's summative or formative. You select the quiz type. So is it subset selection for summative assessment or answer until correct for formative? You can ask what details they need to fill in, and also you can choose to shuffle and have a question bank. So all of these are options for the quiz when you're setting it up. The last thing you have to do is add the slides, which you just saved as images from your PowerPoint. And then for each slide you select, is it just information or is it a question? If it's a question, you select what is the correct answer. So you have a drop down and select, is it A, B, C, or D? You do this for all of them, and then you submit. And what you presented with is a unique URL for that quiz. So that quiz is ready at that point. And then it's up to you how you distribute it to your students. So again, you can include a link in your VLE. It can be a link within a PDF document. You can email it to them. You can WhatsApp it to them. It's completely up to you. That unique URL is for that quiz. After the students take the quiz, if it's embedded within VLE, you go to the VLE site gradebook. You can view the results. You can also view them live on QuizSlides, or you can also download a spreadsheet to view all of those results and do your own analysis of the results. So how does QuizSlides compare to Moodle? QuizSlides, I need to stress, only has 4 option multiple choice test questions. There is no true or false, no other type. So in comparison to that, Moodle has these different types of questions. But what QuizSlides has is the subset selection and scratches and these different type formats that, after we've done the research, shows that they provide more reliable test results, and students prefer them because they're less stressful. It's also much easier to create quiz in QuizSlides, and you can create them collaboratively with your colleagues. Here is a quote from one of the users, from John Seeley, who acknowledges that it's so much more time saving to create quizzes in QuizSlides. It's considerable. It's a factor of several folds. So just the time it saves you, and the quizzes look much more nicer because you have complete freedom what they look like in PowerPoint as opposed to Moodle. Just briefly, how we use QuizSlides within our division. We use them across our first year modules, like for example, maths and computer science. We have about 100 students. We split them into tutorials. Each tutorial has about 25 to 30 students, and they can take this test on the lab computer. They can also use their own laptop or even their mobile phones. We give them formative quizzes nearly every week, so they're prepared for the final one. So this is how we've been doing them in class. But the resit most recently has been done remotely, so it can cater for remote assessment. And the feedback is great from students. They like it, it's positive. How do you get started? You only need to sign up to create an account. It's free for all LSVU staff. And if you need any help, you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. And that's all from me.
Lucia, thank you. Thank you very much. That is so exciting. I have spent many hours of my career inputting into Moodle multiple choice questions, and they are very clunky and very time consuming. And in fact, our law division recently had to use one of our admin team extensively to put them in because they were so time consuming. What I like about this is that you could use your QuizSlides as a teaching tool in giving your classes, and then also repurpose them as an assessment tool subsequently as well. So that's really good. I'm also delighted that it integrates with Moodle. And it's tried and tested. It sounds like it's used extensively within your division and within applied sciences. So if other schools and divisions would want to start using it, the pain factor, the learning factor, and the thresholds to make it work have been gone through. Okay, brilliant. Okay. Do you have, I mean, I'm very conscious of not having everybody come to you. Do you have other training materials or other resources that people could use if they want to start experimenting with this? Have you done any work?
Once you create an account, you will get a demonstration PowerPoint you can download and have a starting point from.
Okay.
But if anyone would like any training in specific, we can offer training to the whole division, the whole school, or even have one-to-one. So please just contact me.
Okay, yes. I mean, I think one of the themes, and you'll see it on the chat when you have a moment, is, how to best train people. So maybe it makes sense for you to do a 20-minute Panopto video or something that's shared and people watch that and interact with that first. And then we come on to other training sessions. I think we're looking at a network of people anywhere across the institution in order to train others so that we get out as far as wide as we can. So
there is a video, once you log into QuizSlides, once you create an account, there is a link to online tutorial, the video tutorial that shows you how to use QuizSlides.
Okay, really good. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions from the chat other than, oh yes, there's a question here actually. Are there any limits on the number of people that can undertake the quiz? Are there any capacity issues that you've come across?
No, we can scale up the server. We've tested with about 130 students and we had no problem.
Okay.
130 concurrent students logging in and there was no issue.
Okay, and there's no issue about doing it simultaneously or anything like this?
No.
Okay, or asynchronously. And I'm having a question, is the quiz stored exclusively on the tutor's space?
You store your own PowerPoint wherever you want, so you can have it on your desktop or you can save it to the cloud and then you upload the set of images onto QuizSlides. So that PowerPoint is always with you.
Okay.
That's exactly where you store it and how you share it and how you reuse it.
Okay, that's useful, thank you. And I've got a question actually. One of the things which I think is an advantage of online learning is the fact that Moodle and our other systems can track engagement without us having to go in. How have you managed any way of sort of allowing Moodle to track engagement with quizzes, and if a student isn't engaging, have Moodle automatically prompt the student to engage? Have you got that far with this?
There are no automated prompts, but we can always custom develop if there is any feature that many people request. We can definitely develop it.
It seems to me like, when I get pestered for not filling in my tax return, it seems you almost need something similar to that. Say, and I know my law division, particularly, I know Kim's on the call, who is very keen that students are sequenced through activities online, that you only can move on to the next activity once you've done one. And to be honest, as an educator, I don't want to be going on and saying, Lucia and Andrew, can you just make sure that you do this before you move on to this? We need the systems to be automated. Maybe that's something that we can think of if it's very easy. Not easy, but if it's something that could be done, it would help all of us eventually. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check. I am so inspired by that. I wish you'd been around 10 years ago. I spent far too much of my life, but I suppose that's true of everything, isn't it? How long are the quizzes kept on the server for is the question.
Indefinitely.
Okay.
Until you delete them.
Okay. Someone's saying I'm on the website now, but there's no way to create an account. There's only a login part. Okay. I don't know.
I included a link within the slides. You need to go to the prices page and then click on free trial.
Okay, free trial. Okay. It is now 1 o'clock. I'm going to keep to my word and keep this lightning quick. Andrew and Lucia, huge thanks to you. I am so inspired. I can't wait to get going.